life experience, go see the world. If I gave any kid on this campus advice, it would be 10 years from now, not even 10 years from now, a year from now, that brand new iPhone you spent $1,000 on is outdated.
So what I try to get to from these interview is your journey,
Okay.
and at some point you probably decided what you want to become, and how that happened, and what was the journey look like.
So my journey, dating back to high school, I was a student at Oviedo High School in the mid to late 90s, and I wanted to be a sports center anchor. I wanted to be on ESPN, and went to UCF and earned a degree in radio, television, broadcasting. I interned at Channel 2. I interned at K92 FM, the local country station. Had a lot of fun doing it. And I even had an opportunity to try out for an advance in a reality TV show called Dream Job that ESPN put out many years ago. They haven't done it in years. They did maybe 1 or 2 seasons of Dream Job. But I heard about the open audition, and I went to it, and it advanced to a regional final. But all in all, when it came down to it, in broadcasting, you don't start out in a large market, and ESPN's a pretty big deal. Most of those folks on ESPN started at a local station somewhere in the country and then moved their way up the ranks. Being born and raised in Florida, and specifically in Seminole County, I love the area. My friends and family are here, and I did not have an interest in moving to Connecticut for ESPN to try to pursue that. And quite honestly, I didn't have an interest in going to a small town in Kansas as a starting point. So I started moving away from radio, television, broadcasting, and I was substitute teaching in college. I was working as a personal trainer at the YMCA. I was doing several different things. I was coaching baseball at the high school level, and I loved it. I loved being around the kids. I loved being a positive influence on the kids, loved interacting with them, and really enjoyed it. Just took naturally to the classroom. And I ended up taking a job in a field that was completely out of left field. Pardon the baseball pun, because we were just talking about baseball. But I took a job with a home builder, D.R. Horton. I was 23 years old, just out of college, and I had a nice salary thrown at me. And that could have resulted in making 6 figures a year as a 23-year-old kid. So I worked for D.R. Horton for a couple weeks, and what I found was that I did not like what I was doing. Did not like it at all. And one of my mentors, who I am in touch with to this very day, a gentleman who was an assistant principal at Oviedo High School when I was a student, and who now serves as my assistant principal here at Seminole High School, Mr. Lance Abney, who I've known since I was 14 years old. He told me, when are you going to stop lying to yourself and quit messing around with these other jobs and come be what you were destined to be, which is an educator? He said, come out here and impact these kids and you'll never look back. And here we are, 20 years later, and almost 20 years later, and Lance Abney was right. So I am honored to still be able to interact with and speak to my mentor, the guy that inspired me to do what I do each and every day. I've been here ever since. So my journey started out as a substitute teacher here in Seminole County, bounced around between the high schools, some elementary schools, coached baseball between Oviedo, Winter Springs, here at Seminole High School. I've got a job teaching at Lake Howell High School as an English teacher my first year. Did that for a year and a half at Lake Howell. Had an opportunity to come here to Seminole High School to serve as a dean. A gentleman named Walt Griffin gave me an opportunity as about a 25, 26-year-old kid. So I'm forever indebted to Walt Griffin. Mike Godrow, another name that's well known here in Seminole County Public Schools. I worked under him for 6.5 years. So it's been a great journey from Lake Howell to Seminole, then over to Winter Springs High School as an assistant principal for 3 years, Rock Lake Middle School in Longwood as a principal for 3 years, and now I'm back here at home where I've served most of my career at Seminole High School, and I am having a blast. Every day's different. There is never a dull moment, and couldn't ask for a better job.
Wow. This is I did not, I mean, I knew a lot of information, but I did not know the transition from ESPN and the media job to educator job and then this.
When you work local media, you work for a radio station, many of your events are on weekends, and they eat up your whole day. My first day as an intern at Channel 2 was the Daytona 500. And what an eye-opening experience that was. You know, you're there prior to sun up, and you don't get home till after sundown. You know, it's a legitimate 15-hour day or more.
Wow.
And I like my weekends. You know, big college football fan, love going to UCF games, love watching NFL games, you know, going out on the water with the family and friends. And that's something I wasn't willing to give up. So went another direction, and here we are.
At what time, what point in the career you thought you will become a principal, or you never thought, and I mean, at some point you probably realized that this is working out well and I'm gonna be principal or whatever.
I
Your
wanted
aspiration.
Lance Abney and some others that were in school administration when I was coming up. I saw how much fun they had, and I saw what an impact they had, and I wanted to do that. So I knew coming out of the gate that my goal was to move into school administration. You know, that gives you the opportunity to influence more kids. You can have more impact. You know, when you're a classroom teacher, you're impacting 150 kids, maybe 180 kids a day, and that's incredible. When you get into an administrative role where you're in a position where you're hiring teachers or you're supporting teachers, you're impacting thousands of kids. And that's always the right answer if you're ever in an interview and people are asking you why you want to leave the classroom to become an administrator or why you want to stop being an assistant principal to become a principal. The answer is always impact. It's the opportunity to grow impact.
How the assistant principal job come to you? Is that something that you tried? You thought about getting into that? I mean, I know you started with a different other education job, and then you became a assistant principal.
So I when I left Lake Howell, and Sean Storch, the principal there at the time, gave me an opportunity as a young teacher, and I'm another person I'm always grateful to, Dr. Sean Storch. She knew I had aspirations of going into administration, and the opportunity presented itself here at Seminole. Truth be told, my first opportunity to teach, I had two opportunities. I had an offer to come to Lake Howell High School, and I had an opportunity to come here at Seminole High School. And I remember taking a phone call from a gentleman named Walt Griffin saying, "Hey, I've heard good things about you. I've got a social studies position here. It's yours if you want it." And I had another opportunity from Lake Howell. Lance Abney, the guy I was telling you about, was over at Lake Howell. And I elected to go over where there was some familiarity, and Lake Howell was a little bit closer to home. So I took that opportunity to teach, and a year and a half later, after being in the classroom, a year and a half later, opportunity arose to come here as a dean. So I came here, and I did that for a year and a half. Was able to, I'd like to think, make a pretty good name for myself in that year and a half as the dean, and people really got a good sample of what I was capable of and how I operated. Mm-hmm. And I was honored to take the opportunity to become an assistant principal. And so I was here a year and a half as a dean, 5 years as an AP, transferred to Winter Springs High School, had a great 3 years at Winter Springs.
As a principal?
As assistant principal.
Okay.
And I got to work under Dr. Mickey Reynolds over at Winter Springs High School. Mickey's a dear friend. She and I were actually assistant principals together here at Seminole. And loved every minute out at Winter Springs, and then the opportunity presented itself to take a totally new venture going into middle school. I really hadn't spent any time in middle schools, but was honored to have the opportunity to serve as the principal at Rock Lake for 3 years. Loved every minute, never had a bad day, and now I'm back here in the big house in the third largest school in the state of Florida, which always keeps you on your toes.
And I think if I'm counting right, it's about 13, 15 years you was as assistant principal.
I was I was an assistant principal for 8 years.
8 years.
8 years. 3 years as a Rock Lake principal, going into my 3rd year now. So I'm creeping up on 20 years in the Seminole County public school system.
My last question on this area is, I know how difficult it is from assistant principal to principal. You go through recommendation, you go through application process. A lot of things happen, and there is only few jobs and a lot of applicants. So, how was that journey from assistant principal to getting into or becoming a principal?
So I was very fortunate to have very good mentors. You know, starting at a young age with, you've heard me say Lance Abney, Sean Storch, and then coming here to Seminole and getting to learn from Walt Griffin and Mike Godrow, and then over at Winter Springs with Mickey. I had some great leaders that I learned from. I was able to take pieces from each of their leadership styles and kind of meld it into my own. So I felt very prepared coming in, and it's been a great experience. You learn something new every day, though. That's the biggest thing, is you have to be willing to make mistakes, learn from them, improve from them, and it's been a great ride. It's been a blast.
Thank you. Changing topic from where you reach today, how is your time management and procrastination, handling procrastination or conquering it looks like?
Well, I'm happy to share that it is not a luxury running this campus, Seminole High School. And I tell you what, something from your previous question about, you know, what prepared me to be a principal, there is no better training ground than Seminole High School. And especially being here for the 6.5 years I was here. I remember when I got over to Winter Springs High School, I was like, wow, this is manageable. You know, this is all I was used to. And I think that was part of the benefit of me coming back here, is I'm used to the pace of Seminole High School and just the volume of kids we have. 2 campuses, 4,200 kids, IB, Health Academy, Aviation, premier performing arts programs, premier athletic programs. This is a high-profile high school. There is eyes on us at all times, and you've just got to be go, go, go. There is no opportunity to procrastinate, or else it would just snowball and things wouldn't get done. But luckily, I've got a great team here. Time management is a necessity here. Matter of fact, in my phone, I always keep a list of my tasks, and I check them off. I'm a list checker, always checking things off. If it's not on my phone, I've got them written down in my notebook, just always getting stuff done. And truth be told, and this is a point of contention with me and my wife, the only thing we really argue about is my schedule and my, let's say, maybe not inability, but me always being on. There's times a day, and this is something I've got to get better at. I've built a reputation as being a very responsive person, via email, calling people back via text. My email signature line has my cell phone on it, and people utilize it when they have to. But I wouldn't say they abuse it. But to run a school of this scale properly at the level that I want the community to have responsiveness from the admin team, it's quite a bit. You know, I'm up at 4 a.m. each day while I'm waiting for coffee and eggs to be done. I've already answered, you know, a few emails. I'll go to the gym 4:30 in the morning. That's sacred time. There's no phone. Leave it in the truck. But as soon as I get back in the truck at about 5:15, 5:20, it's go home, get ready. Typically, my staff members are already starting to text me, giving me updates on how it looks with substitute teachers for the day. Do we have positions filled? What happened overnight that we weren't expecting? And then throughout the day, it's go, 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 go. I don't have a scheduled lunchtime. I think it's pretty typical of school administrators. Again, something that I need to be better at. I just saw an article recently, actually just yesterday, about how people who work all the time, you know, you're more likely to give yourself high blood pressure and heart disease through all the constant go, 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 and how an inability to slow down is not a bragging right. It's something that, again, I need to be better at, and I always try to make sure that things are prioritized. Tonight my son's got a second t-ball game. I'll be there. Will not miss a t-ball game, barring something that's just I absolutely have to attend. Pardon me. But yeah, the prioritization of time is an essential aspect of being successful here.
The next question in this one is how you set your goal. What's your goal setting method? What your dream, how you dream for what you're going to do 10 years, 5 years from now. So, I mean, what that look like?
Well, goal setting at Seminole, the first and foremost goal any day of the week is ensuring the safety of the campus. So that's an easy one. Making sure the kids have the resources they need, make sure the teachers have the resources they need. Those are your always etched in stone goals. Big picture, it's easy to say we want to increase the graduation rate and we want to be an A school. Everybody wants to do that. That's not special. We're seeing an uptick in the graduation rate that should come out soon. We hope to see it rise from 88.5 to about 93%, which would be a huge accomplishment. Love to see us get to an A school rating. But my big goal, my vision, I don't just want to improve Seminole High School, I want to improve the Sanford community. I was born and raised in Seminole County. I want to see this area continue to thrive. And I want it to continue to be a destination that people want to move into and be a part of because of the quality of life. In this great country, seeing generational poverty, it eats at me. And if I can teach some folks a better way and give them opportunities that they or their families may not have had before, that's a win. So my goal is to improve the quality of life in Sanford at large, not just the school. We're going to use education as the mechanism to affect change in the community.
Who is Dr. Rodriguez other than principal of Seminole High School?
Other than the principal of Seminole High School, I am husband to Jamie, my beautiful wife. I am dad to my 4-year-old son Owen and my 6-year-old daughter Aylin. I am one of 4 children. I'm the oldest of 4. I've got a brother who's a Seminole County firefighter. My sister Jillian teaches at Lake Howell High School, Teacher of the Year finalist. Jenna, my other sister, works for Advent Health. My mom works for Advent Health. My dad's still working. He's a vice president for a wine importer. So if I'm out on this campus, there's a good chance you'll catch me at a Little League practice. If it's the weekend and the weather's nice, you'll catch me out on the water. My wife was kind enough to allow me to get a boat about 3 years ago. So if I have an opportunity to be on that boat, you better believe I'm on it.
Is there any personal dream, goals that you have other than the principal goal that you have?
Becoming a principal was a goal for quite a long time. And not too long ago, I threw my name in the hat for the superintendent position when it became open, when Dr. Griffin retired. I knew full well that I was underqualified, but running this monstrosity of a school, if you can run Seminole High School, you can run, I think, just about anything. And that gave me the confidence to put my name in the hat. At a minimum, it let people know that I had some ambition down the road. But in the meantime, we're going to make Seminole High School the best possible school and culture that it can be. And if opportunities arise down the road that we're at the district level, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But right now, I'm rocking it here. All
right. So last 2 questions. One is, how do you see your journey so far?
I've been fortunate. I was able to become an assistant principal at 26, 27 years old. That's not typical. A principal in my mid-30s. It's becoming more normalized, but that wasn't the norm for many, many years. So I think in a short amount of time, I've had a great opportunity to make a positive impact. That's what I would say about my journey thus far. It's opened a lot of doors. I've had an opportunity to meet a bunch of people that I might not have otherwise met or been able to get close to. So who knows what the future holds, but right now, having a great time.
Thank you. And my last question is your message to the audience. And my audience are two. One are the kids who are in high school or in college and trying to plan out or trying to see how they place themselves in the right place so they have a good career and things like that. How they can find what they want to do and how they can prepare themselves for this world.
I would say one, at some point in your life, you'll come to a decision that puts you in a position where you have to decide, do I want to do what I love? And maybe that doesn't come with all the financial incentives that you would want. Or do you want to grind and do something that maybe you don't love, but maybe the income's great? You got to make that decision. And I referenced that earlier in the recording. When I jumped at a job with a home builder at a young age, I had buddies that were doing the same thing for that same company. They were making $100,000 a year at 23, and 23-year-old single guy making $100,000. Whew, you're having fun. But if you hate it, what good's the money? So you might come to that crux at some point in your life. I would lean on do what you love and find that passion, and you'll never feel like you've worked a day. In terms of getting there, how to make yourself stand out, be willing to do what 99% of the people on the earth won't do. And that's a pretty common theme when you look at some of the companies that are hugely successful, your social media giants, your Amazons, Tesla. What those people have in common is their work ethic. It's second to none. And nobody's going to outwork them. Surround yourself with good people. Surround yourself with people that are going this way in life. And the younger you can identify who the people are that are going this way, the better off you're going to be. I'm proud to be a part of a group of friends that I've been with since high school, some of them middle school. And the level of success of this group of guys is unimaginable. Guys that we grew up playing sports with that are now orthopedic surgeons, engineers, attorneys, business owners. Some of them were on Shark Tank. This group of guys is just, we support one another. We're inherently competitive. A bunch of us grew up as athletes, and so we always want to compete with each other. But find that group of people that's going in the right direction and surround yourself with them. They say you are who your friends are, and that's true to a point, but they say you are the average of the sum of your friends. So keep that in mind, who you surround yourself with.
You use passion a lot in this conversation. What's your advice? How do you find, or how somebody can find what his or her passion is?
How do you find it? Life experience. Go see the world. If I gave any kid on this campus advice, it would be 10 years from now, not even 10 years from now, a year from now, that brand new iPhone you spent $1,000 on is outdated. 10 years from now, nobody's ever going to ask you what phone you had in high school. They're not going to ask you if you wore Jordans in high school. Nobody's going to ask you what apparel you wore in high school. They're not going to ask you what brand of sunglasses you had. They're not going to ask what video game system did you have. All of that is smoke and mirrors. It doesn't matter. Go see the world. Get out and travel. Every time I leave this country, Dominican Republic, Mexico, Canada, and I haven't been overseas to Europe and Asia yet, but anytime I travel internationally, I want to kiss the ground when I get back to the United States. You are sitting in the best country the world has ever seen, and too many of us take it for granted. Too many of us don't realize that in the United States, we have the luxury to oftentimes, now I'm not saying we don't have problems, but often we have the luxury to choose what we want to get upset about. And the rest of the world does not have that luxury. So I would say have that great perspective, go see the world, see how good we really have it. You'll find your passion.
Thank you. Last question. The other segment of the audience is people who are in the job, either in the beginning or maybe 10 years into it, and is still trying to figure from the current average to the next level, and how they can grow from where they are, or how they can visualize what they could become 10 years from where they are, and how they can execute that.
This is kind of an old analogy. When I grew up going through high school, and I was in the weight room all the time, I was on the weightlifting team, what I would do is if I wanted to get bigger and stronger, I would go find the biggest, strongest guys in the gym, and I'd go work out with them. I'd go do what they did. And that thought process has stuck with me. So as I wanted to move up into school administration, I'd go talk to the Walt Griffins of the world. And I would talk to the Mike Blazewicz of the world. And he was an executive director here in our district. I would talk to people that had been where I want to go and figure out,
Wow.
what do you need to do? And I take feedback. That's the one thing. Develop thick skin. Okay? Don't let your feelings get hurt easily. Seek honest feedback. Pull no punches. I would tell those guys, if I was in an interview, because there was a couple of principalships that I interviewed for that I didn't get, and I would go to the people and go, hey, pull no punches. Where can I get better? Those are the best teachers. The best teachers I've ever hired were the ones that, before I could even get back to my office, if I was in their room observing, I couldn't even get back to my office without them texting me, hey, how did it go? What could I have done better? Be your own worst critic. Be introspective. That's a nice way of putting it. But the people that are in the positions that you want to be in, go find them. There's a way to access them and have a conversation with them and learn from those people in those positions. And if you don't have access to those people, come talk to me. I'll put you in touch with anybody I can. And if I don't have access to those people, I will try to find somebody that has access to those people and get you in a room with them, at least on the phone. And that's something that we do here at Seminole High School. And even back to when I was at Rock Lake, I remember a young man, Ben Morris. I still keep in touch with him to this day. He's almost a senior at Lake Brantley. But I knew Ben wanted to get into sports broadcasting. So I called Scott Inez, who was on ESPN radio at the time here in Orlando, and he's still on the radio, just not in the sports department. But we went and sat down during his show, and I brought Ben with me, and we sat down and hung out there for 2 hours. And that's now a connection Ben has that he stays in touch with. He maintains that connection. So find the people who do what you want to do. And if you don't have access to them, find people who do. And build those networks.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for your time today.
Pleasure.
With every person that I'm meeting, this is a common theme that they started with something and then over time it changed, and then finally they find something that they are really, really interested in and found their passion and purpose. So thank you.
You got it.
Thank you for your time, and
Thanks for
thank
thinking
you
of
for
it.
all the advice.
Yeah, thanks for thinking of it. It was very nice.